Hey, do you know about pecking order syndrome? Okay, that really doesn't exist. Pecking order syndrome, it really isn't a thing as it pertains to humans, but it really is a real thing. Let me explain. So, growing up, my dad used to talk to us kids like about, addressing the fighting and the pecking order of things. Now, my grandparents were farmers, so my dad grew up on a farm. And pecking order was something that was described as with birds, right? That the hierarchy, the less dominant bird, chicken, hen, um, that there was a pecking order. It was literally, that they would peck at each other. And so that was when my father, no, that's my mom back there. So that's when my dad used to describe my sisters and I like pecking at each other in that sense of, arguing. And so I thought about, well, as human beings, we do have a hierarchical order, though my dad wasn't talking about the hierarchical part of it. He was really just talking about the pecking that the hens would do and the just getting at each other. But the other piece of it is also in the order of age, sometimes growing up, the order of importance, the order of whatever that got created. So, I am someone who is introspective. I look at how I operate in the world. I look at who I am, who I'm naturally am using many different divination techniques, including astrology and numerology, to name a couple, to really get to the sense of who I am meant to be, was supposed to be outside of societal conditioning, home, etc. Right? So, my name is Lisa Freefeather, and I'm interested in talking to other people, specifically women like myself, who are highly sensing, always looking inward to improve so that our relationships outwardly also are impacted. Now, as such, looking at the pecking order of things definitely impacts relationships, impacts experiences. So, I was recently thinking about this implicit bias test that I'd taken. Now, let me tell you, it is not for the faint of heart. It's the Harvard implicit bias test. I wrote down a few of them so I can remember. I can't recall exactly who I heard it from, how I heard about it, or if it was a search. But one of the topics that I could recall going around during this time was about the so-called black on black crime. Now, you got to also, a little caveat, I don't culturally definitely connect to what has been denoted as Black Americans, though I know better. I know that we are a people with a nationality that has some erasure, but that is something for another topic. But for ease and practicality, I am going to go with this whole Crayola crayon black and white thing. Okay, is to simplify a very complex nationality, ethnicity sort of thing. Okay, so the Harvard implicit bias test is not for the faint of heart. it's not also if you're going to do nothing about it, because I have encouraged other people to take this and to dialogue about it. Now, I did a couple of them. The one that I specifically took was the one on racism. Yeah. And specifically black and white. Okay. So I took this implicit bias test because I'm always, like I said, interested in how I'm operating in the world, how I'm operating, and how I can be my best self. And that includes being a scientist in my own life and looking at things. So when I took this implicit bias test, it came back that I was biased against my own peoples. And I'm not surprised. I was a little disappointed because of all of the progressive work that I've been doing. I was like, hey, I thought, okay. So it helped me delve in to really identify a lot more of the conditioning, the outside um, programming to self-hate, okay? To just put it simply. Especially when you know you're capable, you know you come from capable people and parents, but there's an external world that's telling you otherwise, and that external world is kind of louder than your society, your home base. It becomes so loud that it becomes a question. And I also remember, I think this was there was a study that was done, I think it was in the 70s or 60s, with this baby doll. If I remember, I will look for the link. So basically, little young kids were interviewed, and I believe they were under 7, because we all know, or if you don't know, the foundation of programming is from 0 to 7. I forgot the saying, give me some money from 0 to 7 and I'll tell you their whole world. I'm butchering that. But basically, this is kids are sponges, and this is where the foundation is set from 0 to 7. So anyway, these children were given a baby doll, and they're given a white baby doll and a black baby doll. And the white baby doll had more favorable responses from all of the kids, no matter their ethnicity, across the board. And I remember growing up that, and probably when I grew up, there were very few baby dolls. That's a whole other topic to get on about why girls are given baby dolls. But anyway, I remember that my sister's 2 years older than me, and of course I have other siblings that are older than us. But I guess to differentiate age and dolls, I would get like I would get the little chunky baby dolls that you can cradle that were different dimension, where my sister got the kind of taller baby dolls, which was a whole other little thing. Anyway, they were all white. My mom would say that the black baby dolls they made were just subpar. They were hideous. Not like today, okay? I grew up in the 80s, so definitely not of today's baby dolls, but there was. And so in this interview, none of these kids wanted the black baby doll, okay? Why am I talking about this? We are living in a time of divisiveness, and this is not we have lived in a time of division, and these divisions are fractal. They are becoming more and more fractured, more and more divisive. And I recently watched a video where someone's talking about, like I said, quote unquote, black on black crimes, when one could argue that maybe crimes happen in your vicinity. And if predominantly African Americans live in that area and there is crime within that area, then it's crime on, it's crime within your neighborhood, okay? But these things have been termed. And so in taking this implicit bias test some years ago, I think it's been more than 7 years now, that I discovered my bias. And so since that point, and I have taken a test and I have scored in a different way, but because I actively worked on bringing to presence the biases that had existed, based off of my conditioning, based off of programming, etc. These are multi-layers. What I'm talking about exists, and you can look in your own life and witness them, and you can do your own research. I'm just sharing about my perspective and why I think that it is important for all of us who want to have a world where there is harmony, a world that fits for everyone, to take a look at that. This is also where shadow work comes into play, because there are things that are pushed into the shadow. Of course, no one wants to admit that they're biased against their own ethnicity. They're biased against themselves, because it's counterintuitive to living a life that you would love. It's counterintuitive to self-preservation, actually, but to recognize that there's self-hate. And because oftentimes people don't understand where it stems from, we're taught that, or trained that, somehow once you get into this world of being an adult, that you are the cat's meow. No, I think not, without a continuous curiosity for developing oneself. You don't finish high school and you're done. You don't finish any kind of education and you're done if you're not looking within and understanding yourself. Because I think ultimately, when you know yourself and you know yourself well, this is where your freedom comes from. This is where you can see where the gaps are at, and you can close those gaps. And for me, recognizing the bias that I had, I was able to close the gap. And closing those gaps allow me to love myself. Because if I cannot love the people who look like me in all forms, because let me tell you something, I could tell you one of my biases is a volume. If you're loud, I am not proud of that loud, but I've even been able to take the loud and reframe it in a way that I can see with beauty of self-expression and color. And sometimes volume, because volume is still loud to me. I'm like, okay, love you over there with all your colorful expression, but okay. But it's no longer based off of a kind of like self-hate, a kind of like, oh God, we're so loud and that's so horrible and whatnot. I really did the work to see, like, who would not like this expression of these people, and why not? Okay. So in wrapping this up, I just want to tell you, with this Harvard implicit bias test, there are a few of them, and this list has grown since I've last looked. There's one on weapons, right? There's one on skin tone, light and dark. I don't think that was there before when I first took it. Age, young and old, sexuality, gay to straight, religion, gender. I already told you about race, black and white. There's one on Arab and Muslim. There's one on disability, transgender, that's cis, trans versus, not versus, but trans and cis, right? Gender and careers, weight, fat and thin. It's really interesting And it's really interesting to kind of to see where you sit in those frames. And then you can look back and see how you might be participating in the pecking order and why. All right. So thank you for watching, and until the next time, mwah, be well.